Welcome to the Dad Formula. I'm going to show you how to find time you never knew you had as a dad or a mom, as a parent. And it's how you manage time the right way by prioritization of the essentials. I know it sounds like big words, but I'm going to show you how to do this because disorganization is the biggest time suck out there. It's going to suck time like I came up with nothing because disorganization will suck time faster than you can eat fries at Mickey D's. I don't know. I didn't come up with anything on that one. I just tried to wing that on the fly. Oh my gosh. All right. First, we're going to do the signs of disorganization. Some are obvious and some aren't. Now, signs of disorganization. Obviously, it's like, the clutter on your desk. I don't have clutter here. I got my dad bug, right? Like at home, it's pretty bad because my son uses it for homeschool and oh my gosh, so bad. Anyway, I don't even get me started. Anyway, but like other things like disorganization, you're off schedule, you're running late all the time, you're missing deadlines, you don't return calls, guilty. Or you just, you just skip all that on purpose because you feel overwhelmed. Or like you don't get an oil change, you kind of procrastinate on that and you blow an engine. Also guilty. Yeah, literally our family Suburban did that, been there, done there, did that, been there, done there. Whoa, what? I don't know. Anyway, so then there's the not so obvious signs. And these are the ones that are, you're not really going to realize. And this is kind of cool because it's, there's signs of disorganization. I do this whole thing in the Dad Formula course where it's like, I loved there was a book called Ordering Your Inner World. And it's all about getting the inside figured out. And then you get the outside figured out, right? You got to get the inside first. So the not so obvious signs of your disorganization are going to show, obviously. And that's going to be, disorganization, you're gonna have low self-esteem. You're gonna be doing tasks that are all the time that are unproductive. You have negative attitudes as a dad or a mom, as a parent. You find that you don't enjoy your quiet time or your spiritual time because your mind is rattled. It's like you're not at peace. Okay, my audio just quit on me. Oh my gosh, that's like signs of disorganization right there. I hate that, so I had to kill it and start up again. You might notice my beer bottle's in a different spot. I'm drinking beer. It's Friday. All right. So other signs, not so obvious signs of disorganization is like you're not your quiet time, your spiritual life. Your brain is cluttered with this stuff because you can't. You just can't find that peace. You don't have that, like deep connection with your conversations with your family. You might feel dissatisfied with your life, with work, with the world. Oh my gosh, everything's going to go. The world's dying, right? Everything's crazy. But that is a sign of disorganization. Okay. So, the way you overcome disorganization internally, exteriorly, is by managing your time. It's just the key. It really is. When you manage your time, you overcome your weaknesses. And when crisis hits, when bad times come, you're able to get all your strength together when you can manage time. I know it sounds so crazy. It's like the worst thing that can happen, but when time is managed, it's just everything falls into place, And the key to managing your time is using priorities. So we said, time management equals organization, right? The way you do time management is with priorities. So really it's like priorities equal organization. Okay. And then you throw in habits. So organization plus habits. If you do that, all those key parts, how they all fit together, I'm going to talk through that. You can deal with anything. Okay. You ever notice that like there's some people in the world that they can just it's like, man, they can just plow through adversity. It's like they get knocked down, they get right back up again. They lose their job, they start a business, and you're like, what the heck is going on? Well, like it's crazy. The worst things happen to them, and they're like, and it's not like they're just faking it. It's not like they're like everything's rosy, everything's fine. They're like literally, it's like they have this strength, this peace. It's like a strength through peace. And I've noticed that too. And I look at them and I'm like, okay, I think I figured it out, because I teach this stuff. And so I'm analyzing this all the time and I see those people and I'm like, these are the three things I have. This is what it is. Every single time they have these three things. Number one, they manage their time with priorities. So that's just what I said before. They're managing their time. Not only are they managing their time, they're doing it with priorities because that's the key right there. Okay, that's number one, managing their time with priorities. Number two, they have organization in their life. And that's kind of a no-brainer because we said before, when you manage your time with priorities, you're going to automatically have organization in your life. And then, remember I said that thing about habits? Number three, they practice good, strong habits. And that, some people will call that like discipline. It's just that Discipline is really more the motion, habit is the act. So if you have good discipline, it's because you've built habits. You have to build habits to have good discipline, and you have to have good habits in order to have good time management and to manage with priorities, which all results in organization, right? Okay, does that make sense? We're piling it all together. And then I'm going to complicate it a little bit here. I'm going to say when you have faith, you throw faith on top of that, that's where you can't be beat. Like all that together, okay? Priorities, organization, habits, faith. That's those 4 things I just mentioned. There's a great line. I just love this. I teach this thing all the time, and I love this. I love this. The most successful people in the world are no better at time management than you are. What they're better at is managing priorities, okay? So everyone can do time management. Everyone can be like, yeah, I manage my time. Oh, I figured out. But it's really the key is managing priorities, okay? So I'm going to give you some simple, powerful strategies to make sure that your time management, which is, kind of the basics, it's where we start, aligns with your priorities. And I cover this so much in the Dad Formula course. The Dad Formula course is, it's just like the whole first section goes into time management, priorities, and it's all, there's so many of these self-help courses out there, and you see YouTube videos and stuff like that. And sometimes I'm like, I look at them, I'm like, you're dreaming. This is not meant for a parent. This is not meant for a mom or a dad. So I do it in kind of through the lens of working with a dad, right? If that makes sense. And so I have a lot of other YouTube videos on more specifics on this. And in my course, I do this and more specific ways. But right now, think about it as we're building the foundation. We're stopping the bleeding, right? I have a lesson in the course called Stopping the Bleeding, Okay, so here we go. Not everything that cries the loudest is the most urgent thing. That is a key to remember. Not everything that cries the loudest is the most urgent thing. Everyone jumps to that. And I mean, really, like everyone jumps to the thing that cries the loudest. It's not the most urgent thing. That happens in my house. My kids, my wife, anyone will be like, we need to do this right now. I'm like, no, do you? Is it a have to or a want to? Like, really stop and think about this. You just want to do this. Like this, it's not, you're just yelling this thing. You need this right now, right? You probably have people that bug you all the time. You're pulled in a ton of directions. I am. I know, man, that's like my life, story of my life. Friends, everyone, whether it's social, whether it's business, everything. But when your time is unmanaged, it's open. It is open. I wanted to do like a Trump. It's huge. It's open. I'm going to do it. I'm going to leave that in. I'm not even going to edit that out. That came into my mind. But when your time is unmanaged, it's a big blank spot, right? What happens when it's a big blank spot? Anyone can have at it. It's there for the taking. Right? So imagine a doctor. Imagine a doctor where anyone could walk in. Whoever walks in gets treated immediately. So there's a grandma with her aches and pains. No offense to grandmas, but like there's a grandma with aches and pains that gets treated first in front of like a gunshot wound that's coming into the ER. Right? That would never happen. That is insane because they prioritize. It's called triage in the ER, right? They even in an urgent care, even in a doctor's office, to some extent, they prioritize where someone really needs, like they're hurting really bad. They got to get in. They got to get seen today. They're going to kind of bump someone who's just on a routine visit, right? And you're like, so my question to you is like, well, then why don't you prioritize? And you're like, well, of course a doctor does because they're a doctor. They're important. Aren't you important as a mom or a dad, a husband, a wife? Like you're important too. You're just as important. And I would actually argue more important. Now, most of you out there, you prioritize at least something. Like you're sitting there going, all right, Tommy, you're kind of like you're I don't know what you're talking about. I prioritize stuff. Like everyone, because everyone does. Everyone is going to prioritize some things. A lot of times it's the things you like. It's the fun things, right? Other times it's the deal breaker things. There are things it's like, I'm not going to miss my kids thing. I'm not going to miss a church thing if that's important to you, whatever it is. But do you prioritize all of it? And I mean all of it. Like seriously, every single part. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's like, it's not ridiculous. When you have unmanaged time, 3 things happen. We're going to go through each. Number 1, unmanaged time will always attack your weaknesses first. Okay? It will always, it's crazy. It's like human nature. And this is me. Like this is speaking to me right now because unmanaged time will attack not only the weaknesses, but it'll attack the easier, enjoyable things first, which in a way is weaknesses. So you have to prioritize the important things or they'll never get done, right? You're going to kick that can down the road and it's going to go down kicking and screaming and it's never going to get done. You're never going to get those things done because it will, man, unmanaged time will attack that weakness. It'll attack the easy things, the enjoyable things, the check that off your list really quick. Okay, sidebar here. I need to do this. Sidebar here. I do teach in the course that there's this concept of a quick win. Now, you do sometimes when you're feeling in a rut and you're feeling stuck, you go out and you clean your car. Go out to the driveway, go out to the garage, wherever, and you clean your car. You just clean your desk. That's okay. That's okay because that's a planned activity. You're like, I know I have these important things that I have to prioritize. I have to put these in place, but I have a little bit of time here. I have a little flex time and I'm going to go do a quick win. I'm going to go do something to make me feel better, to get me out of this rut and to get me more motivated. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to plan that. You're planning it in. This is not letting, things just shove in the way, easy, enjoyable all the time, right? You're like, I'm going to go do a quick thing quick. Does that make sense? You don't always have to do the most important things first because sometimes a quick win will just, it'll help you get out of a rut, for example. But generally speaking, time, that was kind of a sidebar. In general, time left unmanaged will always lead you to the unimportant things because they are simple, they're fun, or they're easy. So there's this YouTube of, I don't know, you've probably seen it, and it's like this college teacher, and he gets out a glass, a glass jar, pretty big glass jar, and he fills it with rocks, and he goes, "Is this full?" And the kids are like, "This is gonna be like a glass half full, half empty kind of thing, question, whatever." And they're like, "Yeah, it's full." Well, it's not half. Okay, yeah, it's full. It's fully full with rocks, right? And he goes, "No, it's not." He takes out a bag of sand and he dumps sand in. He goes, "Is it full now?" And they're like, "Yeah, now it's really full." And then he cracks open a beer. It was awesome. It literally was a beer in college. And he pours it in and it's like, and it's foaming up and everything. And he's like, "Now is it full?" And they're like, "Now it's really full." There's like nothing else you can get in there, right? It makes sense. And it was a really cool story because he's like, if you have to put things in the jar in the right order. So the rocks are your priorities. The sand is your lesser priorities. They're your things that are, that can be done, but they're not like the deal breakers, right? They're not the valuable high item things. And then the beer is just the beer. It's just fun, right? So manage your time and fill it with priorities or the beer is going to take up your unmanaged time, right? Okay. Now, closely related to that is another part of this. We're still on part number 1. Unmanaged time will also steer you to things that gain your attention. So this is kind of cool. This is a really deep concept. I've never heard this on any video online, but it will, unmanaged time will steer you always to things that gain you attention or try to. So it's going to be, think of things that other people are going to notice. So like, things that you're going to get a pat on the back for. Like your backyard is a trashed mess and there's septic leaking up, kind of too close to home on that one a little bit there. But anyway, or something, it's just a train wreck, right? It's just super bad. And you're like, but I'm just going to go fix the front yard. Even though the back has a bigger problem, I'm going to fix the front yard, or I'm going to wash my car because my car I'm driving around town where everyone's going to see, my buddies are going to see, or I'm going to clean my front yard where people are coming by because some people are coming over and they're just going to come in the front. And it'll just look better. People will think more highly of me, right? So you're gonna tend to do the things that you're gonna get a pat on the back for. Guilty there is, as charged too. That's me. So always just watch out for that. Be careful of that. Okay, so we're gonna review. We just went through the first thing. This is the 3 things that happen when you have unmanaged time. Number 1 was unmanaged time will always attack your weaknesses first. Number 2. People that scream the loudest get to have your unmanaged time. Oh man, like the whole squeaky wheel gets the grease thing. I fight this one daily. This is crazy because I have a hard time saying no. I want to be a yes man. I want to be nice to everyone. I'm like this happy-go-lucky attitude. It's hard for me to be an asshole and I can't say no to people. It's so hard for me, but I can when I have managed time. And I found that and I found the key. It's like this is what happens. If you don't have your time managed, People will suck every last little bit out of your time, and they will guilt trip you for it. Narcissists especially will kill you on this, right? Okay. Even if it's not narcissists, like say there's a leader to people, strong people in your life are going to end up managing time for you because you haven't managed it yourself, right? So you have to manage it yourself. They will take over your time because you don't have proof that you're unavailable. A schedule backs up your ability to say no. So they get your time, and guess what your family gets? Your family gets nothing because you're jumping around and you're trying to give your time to other people and they need it most. Your family needs it most, right? So when your time is managed with a schedule, it gives you the confidence to say no, right? It's like you're backed up in your choice. You have proof. You brought the receipts, Now, here's a really tricky one. Saying no to a good thing. So when you have to say no, sometimes, a lot of times it's a little more straightforward. You're like, I don't want to do that thing. I don't want to go there. I don't want to help that person. I'm going to say no. And I can use my schedule as proof to back that up, right? And I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. Excuse me. But sometimes you have to say no to a good thing, okay? You have to say no to a good thing if it's not the best thing. If it's not the best thing and you have too many good things in your life. And I run into that all the time. So I'm trying to do too many things. And my wife's like, you're so busy. You're running yourself ragged. You're not getting enough sleep. You don't have enough time with the family. And I'm like, but look at this and look at this. And she's like, yeah, you're volunteering. You're doing everything you're doing is awesome things. It's really great. But none of them are really the best thing. You're just doing, and again, sometimes it's pats on the back, so sometimes you have to say no to something that's not a negative, but something that's a positive. It might be for something that's, that's good, but you have too many good things. You just have to choose the best good thing, right? So to take command of our time, we have to say a firm but courteous no, right? To opportunities that are maybe good, but are just not like the best for us. So here's how you say no. Here's what you don't do. Here's how you do not say no. You don't say, I don't have time to do that. Like, don't ever say that to yourself. That's terrible. You do have time. You actually do have time. Unless you are in the ultimate time crunch and for a very short part of your life, you do have time. Instead, you say, I'm sorry, but I just can't schedule that in. Or I'm sorry, I can't put that as a priority right now. And I know that last one, like saying it's not a priority, you might sound like an asshole, like that just... You can massage that how you want, but so a lot of people just say that. They just go, I can't put it as a priority. So here's the big point. You're just saying sorry instead of saying no. And it's, saying sorry is more gentle. You're like, sorry, I cannot do that. You're not saying, and you're not giving them a no. You're giving them an I'm sorry. And that's how it comes across. It's easier for you to say. It's more polite. If you're Canadian, you can say sorry. I'm sorry. Canadians say a lot of sorries. But here's the big kicker. This is the big thing. Not only are you saying sorry instead of no, but you're letting them know that you can do it. You actually can do it, but you choose not to do it. And that's huge. I know that sounds crazy. Like, wow, that seems kind of like rude to say to the person. Wouldn't it be better just to say no to the person? Like, sorry, I'm booked. Like, I can't do it. But it's actually better to say, I'm sorry, I can't put that as a priority right now, or it's not in my schedule, because it shows that you put a big value on your time. Because when you show them that, then they kind of respect it and they step back and they go, whoa, okay, this guy has things scheduled. He's really busy. He puts value on his time. He's not just like a yes man. He's not available. It's really cool. Like, it actually is a win for you psychologically inside. And it's really a win for the other person too, because they see you as what you are, and you look better in their eyes, which is kind of cool, So remember, just so the way we don't do it is, you don't say, I just don't have any time, right? That tells yourself that you don't have time. That's toxic. You do have time, right? You always have time. It also shows the other person that you have no control of your time, that time has controlled you. So when you say, I don't have time, it shows the other person that time has controlled you, right? So you want to remember, just to summarize this, we want to show value on, you want to show value on your time, but it's that it just doesn't fit in with your values, if that makes sense. So you're valuing your time, but this particular thing that I'm being asked to do doesn't really fit in with my values. It's really deep, and it's like a whole new mindset shift. But it's kind of cool, when you think about it. And there's a story, it kind of reminds me of a story that I'll throw out there. And it was a good friend of mine, old high school buddy from way back. He was years ago, I think this is like, 15 years ago or something. He was siding his house, tore off all the siding in his house. It was fall. It was like early fall. He tore off all the siding, started tearing it off, and he was going to re-side his house. And he kind of had mentioned to us, he was like, oh man, I kind of big project, bit off more than I can chew. And he was working a lot of hours. So he was just doing it after work. And he was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to get this done. And we're like, let us know, he can help you out. And then like right at that time that he tore all that off, his daughter got diagnosed with incurable cancer, terminal cancer. It was super sad. I mean, it was just a horrible time for all of us. We were really good friends. And he, so a couple buddies, a friend of mine came up with the idea, and he said, he goes, hey, let's all get together and let's finish his siding for him. He's got all the siding already out there. He bought the stuff. Like, the least we can do is just do the labor. So we did. We did it. And like, it was like a year later or something at a barbecue. I was talking to him, the guy whose daughter had died. And it hit me so hard because he goes, man, the biggest thing in my life right then, the biggest worry, the biggest stress I had was getting that siding on the house, And then he goes, after my daughter got diagnosed, I could care less if siding was even on our house, if it just rotted, if we even had a house, at that point. I just didn't care. Like, that was such a small thing. So, value put on your time. It's just a good story to remember and kind of reflect on and think about, because it's so important, Okay, so we're going to review 3 things that happen when you have unmanaged time. I'm looking at my notes. Unmanaged time will always attack your weaknesses first, number 1. Number 2, people that scream the loudest get to have your unmanaged time. And we talked about saying no. Number 3, unmanaged time surrenders to the demands of people's urgencies. Oh, yeah. So this is kind of closely related to number 2, but this is more like urgent. And I have this thing I go through in the Dad Formula course, and it's called Tyranny of the Urgent. And that is where urgent things fly at us all day, every day. It's causing us to live reactively and defensively all the time. So think of and I don't know, is it tyranny or tyranny? Tyranny, because I think of a tyrant. Like a tyrant is like a king. And I think of the little king like, like, I want it now. There's an old Bugs Bunny, like bring me my Hassenpfeffer. Anyone from the 70s, 80s? I don't know. Anyway, but think about, or like small unruly kids that are like, sometimes you're just like, they're just like relentlessly there. And they're like, I need. Oh, I'm just getting to kind of amped up here on the kid thing. But if our time is unmanaged, the tyranny of the urgent will rule. I'm going to use the word tyranny. I think it works better. Okay, my twin brother works right downstairs right now. And he has clients coming and going all day, every day. And they just walk in. Like, they walk in and interrupt him and demand his time. And they're like, I need my project now. Right? Developers will do this too. The developers are especially bad on this, like more than like homeowners that are building their own home. So one time I was just like, do you need to do this? Like, do you need to do this model? Can you change the model? He's like, that's how it works. In my industry, that's how it works. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I don't think it does. But he tended to think that that's the way it goes. And he was kind of stressed a lot of the day. And my heart goes out to him because I love the kid. He's my twin brother. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like the tyranny of the urgent is ruling down there. I see them coming and going through my window. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, here they come. They're going to freak him out. And they're going to stress him out, and then I'm going to be hanging out with them, and we need to go get beers and stuff like that, right? Okay, so remember, if we want to take command of our time, you got to bite the bullet. You got to say a firm but courteous no. We went through that before, to the opportunities that are merely good but not the best for us. And also, you need to recognize, this one was really closely related to the last one and is shorter, but you also need to recognize that not only, the things that scream the loudest aren't always the most important, right? So the tyranny of the urgent, and just kind of, you got to put people in their place and just say, hey, no, not right now. Like, that's not going to happen for me. You can't do that. You can't be yelling at me. And then if they guilt trip you, you got to push back and just say, don't guilt trip me. You can't do that to me, right? Okay, so we talked about the three things that happen when you have unmanaged time. Unmanaged time will always attack your weaknesses first. People that scream the loudest get to have your unmanaged time. Unmanaged time surrenders to the demands of people's emergencies. Okay. Now I want to give you some practical tips on how to manage time. So we went through all the things that were I feel like it was kind of negative. It was like, here's what happens when you have unmanaged time. Here's what happens if you do this. You got to do this. You got to do this. Yeah, like if you like scare tactics, if you don't do this, all these bad things are going to happen, right? Now I'm going to give you some tips like to improve. So now we're going baseline and we're going up. Baseline down was before, baseline up now, right? Okay. So know when you are most effective is number one. Now, we all thrive at different times of the day, different times of the month, different times of the year. Now, me at like 3 p.m, I'm pretty bad. Like that's when I'm dragging. I don't have the energy. I'm not feeling great. And clients always want to have meetings at like 2 or 3 or 4. And you know what I do? I just say to them, you know what? Can we schedule that in the morning? Morning is better to me. You're going to get the best, and I always use that term, you're going to get the best me. You're going to get the best Tommy at this time, or if you do this. And my twin brother downstairs, he's always laughing at me. He's like, man, you put so much rules on your life and for your clients and stuff like that. And I'm like, but like, it's how they're going to get the best me. It's how it's going to work, right? I drag at 3 o'clock. And so I tell my clients that I'm like, hey, listen, I drag at 3. Like in the mid-afternoon, I'm really tired. And they're like, you want me to bring you coffee? And I'm like, I don't drink caffeine. Like I just don't. I'm too hyper already. But I get this like mental fatigue, right? I'm still hyper, but it's a mental fatigue and it's terrible, or sometimes I'll just be like, hey, if you want to meet late afternoon, why don't you just bring some beer and we'll just hang out, we can do that. And they're kind of like, not be productive. I'm like, I don't know. It's afternoon. What do you, why are we having an evening meeting? This is kind of crazy. So then they come in the morning, and I get a second win later in the evening, and not a great time for meetings because I'm at home and it's like, 10 p.m. But late mornings is perfect. I've got my little decaf coffee going. I got my emails all cleared out, and I'm feeling good, right? So winter is another time. The seasons. I know a lot of people out there are going to be like, what the heck is this guy talking about? Because people drag in the winter. My wife's like that, I am like high energy in the winter. I get more done. I love it. I'm way more like introspective and reflective. I come up with more creative ideas. I'm recording this. Bang the microphone. Hope that didn't make any noise. I'm recording this in the winter right now. I wrote my Success for Teens book in the winter. I built the entire Dad Formula and Dad Hustle courses in the winter. I would never attempt to start a business in the summer. I love the summer. It's fun, but it's hot. I'm moving slow. We don't even actually have AC in our house. We live in North Idaho. But it's, we have hot days and I'm dragging, I'm moving slow. I'm super relaxed. I'm in flip-flops. I'm taking a lot of time off. It sucks for work, but life is good. I like it. I'm not going to try to build a business or start a new venture or record podcasts or something like that. I'm just not going to try that. That's when I know. So know when your times where you have more mental or emotional fatigue. Where even to the extent of where you want to run from problems or run from people. And I know a lot of people in the winter, they're just they're almost, wow, they're unbearable. They're like a different person, right? And then there's other times when you're good. So learn what works for you and, and just stick to those schedules. Okay. Number 2, here's a trick. Number 2, build your schedule based on value. Okay. Remember we talked about saying no, but only if you have a schedule. So here's where you need to build out your schedule. Now, I would suggest building out a basic weekly schedule and base it on value. Okay, so you're going to base it on value or the important things, the priorities, and you're going to fill it in with the rest. Okay, remember the rocks in the jar. So there's so many ways to do a calendar, and I'm talking to or a schedule or a to-do list. So any of these things are all kind of the same. I use Trello. I love Trello. You can move the different panels across and it's just really drag and drop. It's really easy, but there's so many different ways to do a calendar. There's Wunderlist and Todoist and, all these different things. But here's what I would suggest. This is how I do everything. I do my work stuff this way. I do my personal life. I do my business ventures, volunteering, everything I base on that like this. Ready? It's today, tomorrow, this week, next week. Today, tomorrow, this week, next week. So it's not today, December 15th, it's not in December 16th. Now I'll plug into literally a date on the calendar if it's like there's an important event or something I need to do with the kids or a client thing or something like that. Like obviously, but I keep my schedule rolling. And by rolling, I mean today can roll over to tomorrow. And I try not to put too much on my calendar that's going to always roll over, right? Because every time you see something move and you keep seeing something on your calendar over and over and over, it's kind of a ding against you. And I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so there's today, tomorrow, this week, and next week. Anything after that's after next week, skip. Like, don't write down. Now, you can write down like, we have home improvement ideas in a folder of, sometime in the next year or two, or long-term like kind of ideas for business, or even your goals. Like don't go too far out, so same thing with a to-do list. You don't go really any farther than next week, because even my next week list, I noticed, just gets stale. Stuff stays on there, and as things bump, or if you do anything longer than like next week, you'll see the thing over and over and over and over and over. And when you see the thing over, it will be a ding against you. It's psychological, and you're like, and then you feel like you can never get it done. So then what happens is you bury it. Then you just delete it or you bury it. So make a list, like on your computer, on your laptop or whatever, of like long-term strategies and things. You can go back. I mean, it's funny. We had a to-do list of everything we wanted to do around the property when my daughter was going to get married. And then she called off her wedding, and we went back, and so we just kind of like, well, I guess we don't have to do a lot of the things around the property. And we looked back at that list, and my wife and I looked at it it was like this past summer, and that was like 2 years ago. We were like, I went, honey, look, every single thing on this list, like I think 19 out of 20 things were actually done. We actually got them done. It was really funny. We didn't need the to-do list. We just were trying to do it quicker. Eventually we got it done. So it's okay, because eventually it made it to my this week list. Or my next week, or something like that. So here's another thing is put some flex time in there. That's really important. You want to have some open spots in your schedule, so that if someone asks you for something, you can say, yes, yeah, absolutely. I have this Wednesday open. I got time after work tomorrow to do this, or I got some time today. Like I got an hour today. Let me jump on that for you. And that's what's cool. That's not the tyranny and the urgent, because now you're taking the thing, instead of letting them dictate when you're going to get it done and screaming at you and pushing on you. You just said, I do have some time. I'm going to do that for you. I'm going to do it at this time. And you just put it into a schedule. So you put them into a schedule. You showed them value, and you said, and they just went, whoa, he has a schedule. And you're like, yeah, I can lock that in at this time. I do that all the time with the kids. And it's like, as a parent, what extent, I got a funny story with that. I just thought I'll tell you in a second. Okay. But like, is that rude to the kids? Is that like, dad's scheduling in time with me? And it's like, no, I was like, hey, I got some time after work today. Let's do that guitar lesson. I'm going to show you that cool little trick on the guitar or whatever. Or let's go walk your trails out in the woods and show me. Gotta check and make sure my camera's still going. Sometimes it clicks off. Okay. Not even going to edit that out. So remember, it's like the rocks in the jar. You got to put your important things in first, your family time, work, church, if that's important, right? All those kind of things. And then you leave that beer that the guy dumped in is kind of your flex time. Okay, so this is the funny story. I thought it just crossed my mind. My dad used to schedule on my dad had this calendar, and it was on his desk, or it was like on the wall by his desk. And I remember it was like Thursdays or something like that. And it would say time with mom. And I remember asking my older sibling, because I have a big family, grew up in a big family, and I was asking an older sibling, I'm like, what does that mean? And they're kind of like, well, I don't think I need to tell you that. And I remember as I got older, like I asked my mom, I was in high school or something, and I asked my mom, I was like, didn't Dad used to schedule time with you on your calendar? And she just eye rolled, and she's like, yeah, And I'm like, well, that's not bad, And she's like, yeah, he scheduled time with his wife, like not good. And I was like, yeah, but he got the job done, right? Like I recognized back then, I was like, guy versus girl, like he kind of needed to put that in. He was a super busy guy. Like my dad always had time for us, but he was crazy. Like he built businesses and stuff. He's a total entrepreneur. Right. So remember, put the important things in first, and that way they are immovable. They're the deal breakers, right? Then there's slots available that are flexible. Then you can help, someone in need, and you can do this really great stuff, or just for fun. You can just be like, hey, I got some time. I want to have some fun, But the important point is you build a schedule, you gotta like do it, or to-do list, or whatever you want to do. I mean, schedules and to-do lists, or schedule, you think calendar based, to-do list is like more rolling. I like to-do list. I kind of do a little both. But first, you build one, most important thing. And then number 2, block out times for the most important things. Okay, number 3 trick for time management is manage your time in advance when possible. Same day to-dos rarely work. So it happens to me all the time. I'll put something on my to-do list that day, like in the middle of the day, not going to get done. I forget to do it. I just don't see it. I really need to do it like the day before at least, and then because I review like in the morning, and I'm looking at my to-do list on my phone and on my computer. It all syncs. And I'm like, a lot of it is at night. I'm just really like, sometimes as I'm driving home, I know kind of bad, but like I'm really like reviewing it for the next day. I'm always planning. And sometimes I hate it when people like that day, they're like, hey, can you do this today? And, and I'm like, it's that same thing with the flexible time. I'm like, if you could have just asked me yesterday, I literally could have done it for you today. I could have put it on my to-do list and I would have bumped some other things, but I already have things. And they're like, well, but how important are those things? Can you bump them? I'm like, no, because I already put them on my to-do list. So manage your time in advance when possible. And this isn't the case so much with to-dos, is more of, especially in the case with more scheduled things, right? And it's weird because you'll find more time than you ever knew you had when you schedule things out in advance. It's really, really cool. It's like everything just falls into place, right? So you can squash the tyranny of the urgent when you already have your time booked, right? Now here's a funny thing. This is a weird one. A funny thing happens with priorities that have the most value. Okay. I'm talking about like the high priority things, the really important things, family time, things like that, like really important things. If you ignore them, it's bad, right? Bad. But they don't immediately have an adverse effect on you. Okay, it's kind of interesting. They don't scream for your attention. Like for example, family time, paying bills, right? Both of those are high value. They're important. I have a story. Okay, so family time. I'll do bills first. Okay, this one. If perfect example, you don't pay a bill, right? You don't pay a mortgage. Let's say mortgage. You don't pay a mortgage. What happens? You throw the envelope in the trash. Say you're getting it in the mail still, paper. I don't know. It's just easier to say. Throw it in the trash. You ignore the email, whatever. You just don't make the payment. It's fine for like a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. I don't know how long you can go with not paying a mortgage. I think it's like 6 months to a year before they foreclose, right? And then bad things happen. Then you lose your home, right? Okay, so family time, same thing happens to me. It's really crazy. I'll have a busy week where I'm just slammed, like I'm stressed, and there's a ton of things happen. Usually it's where some like technical issue happened and I've crashed something, ruined, I don't know. It's just like I'm really busy at work. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to get a course set up, or I'm launching something, or I'm doing whatever, and I kind of ignore family for a bit. Other than like, I really try to make it to dinner. We do our evening prayers. But other than that, like I'm in the den, like I'm focused. And my wife's like so good about that, like really good. And she's like, hey, you do your thing. Like, I know this is important. You got to get this done. And this is for work and everything. But like a certain amount of time goes by where I can feel like the stress level, and I can feel that it's wearing on her, and I can feel that it's wearing on the kids. And she's even come to me and she's like, okay, I know you've been really busy, but you got to, like, this is going on. And she'll flat out say, she'll be like, things fall apart when you get busy. The kids fall apart. The discipline falls apart. I fall apart. Like, I get grumpy. She just, she's good with it. And she goes, it's a necessary evil. We have to do it to a point, so the higher the value thing, the more it's like, the longer the repercussions of it, it'll hit you, when you ignore it, so a little thing like not cleaning your car, it's a low level thing. It just doesn't matter. You can drive around with a messy car. Doesn't matter, right? That only affects you like immediately. Now you look and you go, my car looks like, but the higher level things, because they're more important, they dig deeper and they hurt more and they hurt longer, right? So the effect of it is longer, right? Not paying a little tiny bill is more of a shorter thing than not paying your mortgage. That's an irreversible. You lose your house, that's irreversible. You're done, right? Okay, so that happens to me. I recognize it. By the time I realize sometimes my busyness, it's really tough to turn it around. And I'm talking about like even sometimes it's just like a week here where I've ignored family, something like that where I've been busy. It's crazy how fast it can happen. It happens with sleep too, my sleep or my spiritual life. So you might notice it in your sleep. That's important. Sleep is important. Like we can all agree on that, right? You can ignore it for a night. You can ignore it for 2 nights, 3 nights. Then it catches up with you. Like if you're not getting good sleep for like a week because you're stressed or you got something going on or you're on a trip or whatever, it catches up with you, and it's really hard to turn that ship around. Like it's really hard to get that back. Okay. So it's really important to block out the high value, the important things really far in advance. Okay. Summarizing here, kind of like build a schedule, have the discipline to stick with it through the use of good habits. We said that at the beginning. You build a schedule. The discipline is the act, and then the actual specific actions of the habits. You build habits, and I have tons of stuff on habits, but you got to get that schedule built first, and you really got to stick with it, right? So it's like schedule, back it up with habits. Schedule it, back it up with habits, right? And you got to just think in your schedule. It's like, what are the non-negotiables? What are the high value items? What's the priority of the important, right? Versus the tyranny of the urgent. If you wait too long to put those things in your calendar too, here's another weird one. If you wait too long, they will get bumped by things that are more exciting but have less value, or by a tyrant screaming, by someone that needs you. I have this bad habit. A lot of people have this. You're maybe like, yeah, guilty of this one. I have a habit of not committing to something early because I want to wait for a better offer. And you immediately think social life in that case, and that's where it's most common, and that's where I do that a lot. It's like someone invited us over that we're not really close to, and my wife's kind of like, we should go there. Well, let's do that. I really kind of like to do that. I'm like, yeah, but it's a Friday night, and there's going to be some other things that pop up because it's a big Friday. It's like summertime, and everyone's doing stuff. And like, what if we wait for a better offer and we just don't say anything yet? I mean, that's human nature, right? Or like my kids would be like, hey, Dad, can you help me change the brake pads in my car or fix something on my car? Like brake pads, they're always doing brake pads. We always have that going in the shop, at our house. And I'm like, yeah, let me see if I can do that Wednesday night. And I don't want to like necessarily schedule it in because I want to wait for a better offer. And by that, I mean like, see if I have something like where I really need to get done, where like that's more important, that I can kind of use as an excuse to bump that. I mean, that sounds terrible because it's my kids, but like, but my mind's thinking that, right? And as parents, you're thinking the same way, So if you wait too long to schedule things in, that thing will get bumped by something that's more exciting but has less value, right? So you just got to schedule it in. Just go, hey, my kid needs help with his brake pads. That person, they're good people. I don't really like them, but let's go hang out with them, and maybe we can really do some good. Maybe I'll get to like them. Maybe we'll, let's not wait for a better offer. It doesn't matter if a better offer comes along. Don't FOMO. So block out the time for that high value, but maybe less exciting thing, like helping your kids with brake pads or people you don't like very much, but it's an important thing and you need to do that, and do it as far in advance as possible. That's super hard to say. Do it as far in advance. Try that. Anyway. Okay. I'm going to leave you with one last thing. One last thing is really cool. There's 24 hours in a day. No, I'm going to go beyond that. Okay. I know, but it's almost that basic. It's really it's almost stupid, but it was something I thought of one time, and it was kind of strangely groundbreaking for me. It was really cool. There's 24 hours divided by 3 in a day, right? So there's 3 8-hour chunks. You work for 8 hours if you're, kind of an average person. If you're not working like extra jobs and stuff like that. You sleep for maybe 8 hours. That's a lot for a lot of people. Most people are like more like 7. I get like 5.5 and 6. It's pretty crazy. But like if say you're 8 and 8, let's just for argument's sake, though you're doing 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep. That leaves you 8 hours in the day. That leaves you 8 hours in the day that you are free to do whatever you want. So if nothing else in this video, I want you to take that home. Like learn from that there are 8 hours every day, and you're like, man, I don't have time to do anything. Yeah, because you killed an hour and a half on the couch watching that movie. And then a half hour like getting ready to watch the movie. I mean, I come home and I'll be like hanging out at the bar, like the bar in the house. I mean, sometimes I just on the way home anyway. But I'll be sitting there and like my wife's cooking because she loves to cook and that's like her jam. That's her thing. And I'm sitting there, I'm drinking, I'm making myself a little drink or whatever. And we just have our little jam session, our little time. And the kids are running around and I'll chat with them and then I'll look at the little Lego thing that they made. And and I'll be like, all of a sudden I get home at, maybe 5:36 and then all of a sudden and we eat and then it's like 8:30 and I wander again and we do a little night prayers thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like 9, like it's 9 o'clock. I go, where did this night go? But I look back and I'm like, I'm okay with that. Like totally okay with that because it was, my wife calls it puttering. It's like an old guy puttering around in his yard, not like a golf putter. I mean, there's that too. Guys do that. But like they're picking up leaves and they're like washing things that don't need to be washed and cleaning, like anything, whatever. It's like just the most boring mundane things. She's like, you're puttering. And I'm like, yeah, but I need to putter. Like this is my downtime. I don't like some guys are training to be triathletes, I don't need to always go out and be running. Sometimes I just want to hang and have a beer and like just laugh with the kids and just lay on the living room floor and let them walk on me. I'll do that too. And that's okay. So sometimes that 8 hours, parts of it could be seen as purely wasted, but they're not really wasted. But what you want to look at is actually the wasted time. And there's all these like self-help things that are like, journal your hours, put in every quarter hour and try. No, it's like, no, don't do that. Just look back and just do, as we're Catholic. So we do like at the end of the evening, we'll do like this examination of conscience before going to bed. And you kind of look back in your day and like, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? And it's another way of doing it is you can add to that is like, where did I waste my time? Because that's wrong too. Where did I just not do anything? And sometimes you just need some downtime. You just need to like chill on the couch. That's fine. If it's truly for you and you feel you need it, that's fine. That's cool. That's good. But like, look back and be like, where did I really truly waste that I could have done something for my family to better myself, to better my spiritual life, my mental health, my physical health? It's not like you should be striving constantly for that. You just do need a little downtime. Find that balance, right? So remember, 8 hours, there's 24 divided by 3. You have easily 8 hours. The average person has 8 hours and every day. Like, what are you doing with it? So when in this lesson where I'm like, you can find more time you never knew you had, that's my key right there. There's 8 hours that you never knew you had because you really kind of, in some ways, you don't know you had that. And I want to leave you with that. I hope you got a ton out of this. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much.